Schuyler Bailar,
The first transgender male.
The first openly transgender athlete.
the first ever transgender person to play on an NCAA men's team.
Testosterone is one of the only arguments about why trans women shouldn't compete in women's sports. Could you maybe present the key arguments why you disagree with them?
There is available research that supports that testosterone suppression does produce meaningful competition between cis and trans women. Michael Phelps produces half the levels of lactic acid. He's got twice the lung capacity of the average person. But when people talk about that, what do they say? Wow. If those differences exist in the women's category, it is immediately considered unfair.
If I were to decide tomorrow that I was a 47-year-old woman, should I be allowed to go shower in a women's locker room?
There's been no actual effect on sexual assault statistics across the states when this was kind of implemented.
It is playing on real fears that I think are valid. We do need to protect women and girls.
How optimistic are you, Schuyler, and what do you think the next steps are now?
It's actually so true how the way the rhetoric works is it's like a Trojan horse. You have sexual assault of young girls and women, and you hide that and you make it about trans people. And I think a similar way that's been done actually with another thing, which is a completely legitimate issue, is child's mental health around the discussion with puberty blockers, etc. And there's actually a report which came out today, literally just this morning. I don't know if you would have seen it. For your time, it would have been in the middle of the night by the NHS. By the NHS, claiming that they want to reduce the use of blockers in the UK because of mental health, related conditions, etc., that it could be dangerous. And I wanted to ask you what you would say to our trans listeners in the UK in response to this, because it's probably going to cause a lot of change in how they're treated medically, which there's already discrimination, and how you would respond to again, like another Trojan horse like that.
Yeah. I briefly saw the report, and not at the middle of the night, but when I woke up, and gosh, there's a lot there. One of the things that I have a big issue with, and this goes back to our conversation about information and disinformation, is that a lot of people are sharing their opinions about healthcare, sports, bathrooms, what have you, who don't have expertise in the space, right? We have lots of people who are legislating on gender affirming care and, for example, puberty blockers, who are not doctors, who have no medical experience, and who are claiming to be some sort of expert by the simple fact that they are a politician. Right. I'm going to talk about the United States in this particular realm because we have so many politicians that are saying, oh, these are not safe. And they are not listening to any medical expertise. Right. In the United States, every single major medical, psychological, and psychiatric association has affirmed the use of puberty blockers as well as other gender affirming care for kids, for children, for minors, of course, through many different guidelines, and not just giving it to any kid that asks, but through competent guidelines and care, as with any medical care. But they've affirmed this care, and yet politicians saying, "Aha, we know better." Right, and I believe that's part of what's happening in the in the UK as well. As far as I read, it was the Prime Minister that said there should be extreme caution, and I think I don't know enough about that particular story. I'd have to read it, but I want to caution us to think about who we're listening to when we are taking into account opinions about healthcare, especially. Are we listening to actual healthcare professionals, or are we listening to people who have power involved? For example, like in the United States with politicians. Beyond that, simply put, puberty blockers have been used on cisgender kids who are not trans for decades. There have been no issues with them. And there should be no reason that we can't use them for trans kids. People will try to cite side effects of them that are not an issue as well. And there's been several studies to debunk that. I could go like full science on this and share this with you, but we only have 4 minutes left, so I'm not going to do that in this moment. But I want to remind us that we've actually have lots of research that puberty blockers are not only safe, but also effective in helping improve the mental health of those who use them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a kind of a good way to kind of bring it towards the end of the conversation, because that is one of the more controversial ones. But in any case, obviously we've got limited time. But I think I would recommend people to go and just like read the information, speak to loads of different people, speak to like scientists, and that's a, you know, if people make informed decisions, that's, I think, the right way to do it.
Yeah.
But I guess just our final question would be something that you speak about, this idea that most people are good people, and I feel like that kind of suggests optimism for the future. So I guess, how optimistic are you, Schuyler, and what do you think the next steps are now?
I would say I'm generally an optimistic person. I think it would be fairly difficult to continue doing the work that I do without being optimistic. I mean, this is my 4th interview today in sharing these kinds of thoughts, and I'm optimistic even in doing these interviews, because that means there's 4, groups of people and media platforms that are interested in hearing about what I have to say and about trans rights. So I am generally optimistic. If we think about time, like chronologically speaking, in the next couple of years, I'm not so feeling that optimistic. I think I'm very afraid about this upcoming election cycle for lots of different reasons. I think the greater world in general has had a lot of human rights issues. I mean, there's multiple genocides occurring: Palestine, Sudan, Ethiopia, Congo. I mean, we're doing a lot of crappy stuff as a world and as a people. So I'm not feeling particularly optimistic in the short term, but I do feel optimistic more generally, because I can see that, yes, there's all this misinformation that people are digesting, but what's also happening is people are connecting across communities, and they're connecting across the globe. And I think that is really powerful to see so many people from different backgrounds, and particularly marginalized folks, being able to connect so that they can then be more empowered and then create the change that they want to see.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode. I just wanted to drop you in a word from our sponsor, Manscaped. You can use the discount code LOAF to get your discount, because even a lion needs to tame its mane.
Get the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra from Manscaped now. Stay fresh with no cuts, so that your baguette leaves no crumbs.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that short clip with Schuyler Bailar. If you want to check out the full episode, click right here. Since you got to the end, I'm assuming you liked the video, so please leave a like. It really helps the channel. And subscribe, because we've got loads more like that coming very soon.